Thank you, MP Kotai, for your motivation. I now give the floor to MP Ludmila De Wever. MP De Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good evening to everyone. We're almost done. So this one was a very difficult motion because so much is included in it. And I see exactly where the MP was trying to go with it, which is why probably you're gonna have, persons all over the place in terms of their support for this, which is they're entitled to, that's fine. And I do hear the argument beforehand about putting GB in a precarious position, financial position. It's already there. And GEBE has also decided on its own to actually take on the costs, take on the cost of the fuel charges for an undefined period that we don't know anything about yet. So I believe when you go through the details of this motion, that the motion actually gives you consideration if the financial feasibility is there. So because of the fact that it is basically giving us the task of what GB is supposed to do anyways, going through the entire sort of hierarchy of from Parliament to government, from government to the Supervisory Board of Directors, from the Supervisory Board of Directors to actual management. So it's just reinforcing the responsibility of all the roles involved in the motion. And because of that, I can support this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Ludmila De Wever. Any other? Yes, we do have MP Otley, who wishes to motivate his vote. MP Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the resolutions and a motion mainly are based on the considerations. In the consideration, it clearly states that considering that GEBE is losing present revenue and potential future revenue by chasing past bills, what is happening is that persons, and I have messages here where people are telling me, my bill is 8,500, my bill is 12,000, my bill is et cetera, extreme high amounts. And they are asked to settle, pay half. There are persons living without electricity at this moment that can probably make monthly payments, but due to whose fault? Some is the consumer's fault, yes, have not been paying, but also when you're getting incorrect and inaccurate bills and late bills, and you get a lump sum of bills for the past 7, 8 months that says you owe 12,000, it puts people in a panic. And persons are ending up at the medical center for this. And by GEBE not allowing these persons to make monthly payments because they're disconnected, you're actually losing revenue as we speak. Madam Chair, the Ministry of TEAT, the Minister of TEAT, is already in the process of carrying out what is known as a Tariff 60 for seniors. As I stated before, GEBE has two categories, residents and commercial. So the Honorable Prime Minister was trying to say that we should include seniors, but seniors fall under residential. And as it was stated as well, when I was the Minister of VSR, you are in charge of water. We wanted to do a special rate for seniors, and it was advised that you cannot just single out the seniors as discriminatory, which means that by doing a tariff deduction under the residential, it benefits everyone. And a tariff reduction can be done. It also says to take into consideration the company's financial feasibility, which means that say, hey, maybe the relief cannot be offered for the 3 months, but we can offer it for 1. But one thing I do know is that our people deserve some relief. One thing I do know that say 1, say 2, it was pointed out that the cost is passed on to the consumer. So, Madam Chair, this obviously have my support. I look forward to having the support of the other members of Parliament. But I can tell you this, as it pertains to the 5,000, the infamous 5,000 that everyone is trying to use, the 50% request is pertaining to the consideration of the past due bill, where GB is already asking persons to pay such, but they can't. And also the maximum of 5,000. So if you owe 16,000, We are not asking to write off 8, but it's a maximum of 5,000. Hence the reason that that is in there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Otley. I now give the floor to MP Roseberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing that in this motion it clearly states, I read it a couple of times because it was a lot of text, maximum amount, previous MP mentioned maximum of 5,000. How I read it, that doesn't mean that that will be the maximum amount, but to that amount, and also the most important part for me, why I will be supporting this motion is because it states taking into account the financial feasibility of such. So, seeing that I myself have been talking about relief as well, I do believe that at this point in time with this motion, it will be putting that extra needed attention on GB to come with a solution and to provide what is possible, seeing that a motion remains a wish. So now I believe with this motion, GB needs to come with answer in regards to what kind of relief is possible if such what has been brought forward in this motion cannot be executed. So I do not believe that any longer it can stay as such, and clear communication needs to take place in regards to what is feasible if such is not feasible, what has been presented in the motion. Therefore, I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you, MP Roseberg. MP Doran.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good evening to one and all. I just want to give a brief motivation. Madam Chair, as the Minister of Finance would say, reading is fundamental. When you look at one of the considerations or the resolves to revise and simplify the calculation of the fuel clause, which is something that everybody in here talk about for years and years and years. When you go back higher up, to provide a maximum relief of 5,000 guilders, taking into consideration the financial feasibility. So that means if it can't, it can't. But we at least as members of Parliament, as representatives, take into account what we can do in our capacity as members of Parliament to give relief to the people. Everybody in here talk about relief in the last campaign. I think if this was on August 18th, it would have unanimous support. So for me, Madam Chair, it's a no-brainer, and I think that it is high time for us to stop talking the talk and walk the walk and support initiatives like this so that we can bring real resolutions to the people. Because fact is, the people didn't call for the virus. Fact is, it was not the fault of the people that GB didn't have enough backup so that they can make sure the bills are in line. Fact is, it's not the fault of the people that the generators continue to fail and lack of attention over the last 2 decades, 1 decade, whatever you want to consider it, was not adhered to. So, Madam Chair, I will definitely be supporting this motion, and I think that it is a no-brainer. And even if you said you wasn't going to support it already, please reconsider because it's definitely something that is good for the people. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Doran. I now give the floor to MP Irian. MP Irian, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening to all. Madam Chair, I heard the MP from the DP faction mentioning realistic, that the motions are realistic. And I said this before, so it's not something I'm saying no again. I mean, that happened said before. During the campaign, almost every member of Parliament that's here now and members from the different political organizations campaigned on relief from GB. And in particular, from the DP faction, there was even a point where it was stated, you could go back on the DP page, from one of the members that even said to not even do the concession from government. Government should cancel the concession, which is over 5 million guilders, right, to allow GB to give relief to the people. That's not on my page, that's on the DP's page. So when the member talks about being realistic for a mere 5,000 guilders, if it's feasible maximum for GB, it's very surprising to me. Madam Chair, in addition to that, a question was posed to the Prime Minister once a couple of weeks ago in a press briefing where I believe the member of the Daily Herald asked the Prime Minister, you campaigned on relief for the people. The response from the Prime Minister was, yes, I agree. And the relief that we're giving now is not increasing the cost including the cost of the current generators. That's the relief. And when I heard that, I was like, how are you predicting that in advance? So when you were campaigning, you was predicting already about generators and the cost of generators? No. Now we have a true opportunity to give some relief. In addition to that, I really believe if you ask GB today, that they know they have to give some relief. Why? Because I said it already in the meeting with the Prime Minister. If you look at the bills from July and August, when we have where we've had the most load shedding, especially Cahill, Kobe, Dutch Quarter, where we're out for at least 8 hours a day. If you look at the usage, it's more than the months before. And why? Because of the load shedding, ACs, UPS batteries, fridges, when they went out and came back on, they use a lot more energy. So our usage went up. So that means GB forced us into having higher bills. We didn't choose to have higher bills. GB forced us to have higher bills. So I would rather that the members of Parliament bring a motion to deal with GB than for GB to deal with litigation from the public on this matter. Because I'm pretty sure, and I already heard about it already, that some members, some people in the community are planning to go to court with GB because of this. So I would rather us as the members of Parliament